The starship Harmony drifted slowly into orbit around the dead world called HFY War. A faint blue glow came from the planet below, where ancient ruins waited in silence. The Galactic Concord had sent their best people here after many years of planning. This was no small trip. The Concord included more than 40 strong species. Each one had ships, weapons, knowledge, and pride. They all wanted the same thing. They wanted the Relic of the progenitors. The Relic was not a weapon or a ship. It was a small black orb, no bigger than a human fist. It hung inside a huge stone chamber, deep under the ground. Old stories said the progenitors made it long ago, before most stars were born. The orb could look into any mind that came close. It measured courage. It measured wisdom. It measured kindness. It measured strength of will. Most of all, it looked for something the old texts called worthiness. If a being was worthy, the Relic would wake up. It would open the great archive. The archive held secrets that could change everything. New ways to travel, new ways to heal, new ways to shape worlds. Even the oldest races in the Concord dreamed of this power. Many had tried to claim it. Great warriors from the Krath Empire came with shining armor and loud songs. They stood before the orb and shouted their victories. The orb stayed dark, silent. Philosophers from the Veleron Collective arrived, with minds linked together. They tried to share every thought they had ever known. The orb did not move, not even a flicker. Rulers from the bright cities of the Zorath Dominion brought gifts of rare metals and living gems. They knelt and promised peace across the stars. The orb ignored them completely. For thousands of years the same thing happened. Failure after failure. The Concord leaders grew tired of losing. They decided to come together as one. This time they would not fail. The landing party stepped out onto the cold stone of HFY War. A wide ramp led down from the Harmony to the surface. Dust swirled around their feet. The air was thin and dry. It smelled like old metal and forgotten time. 12 beings walked forward. Each one wore the colors and marks of their homeworld. The Krath warrior named Torvak stood tallest. His red scales shone under the weak sun. He carried a long blade that hummed with energy. Beside him walked Scylla, the Velaran thinker. Her skin was pale blue, and her many eyes blinked in perfect rhythm. She held no weapon, only a small crystal that stored thoughts. Zethar, the Zorath ruler, came next. His golden robes dragged across the ground. He smiled like someone who already owned the prize. Other delegates followed. A tall insect being from the Cheer Hive, a feathered singer from the Lyris Clouds, a stone-skinned builder from the Deepholds. Each one felt important. Each one believed this was their moment. At the back of the group walked one more figure. He did not match the others. His name was Elias Kane. He came from the Terran Union, a small group of worlds that joined the Concord, only a handful. Short time ago, Elias wore a plain brown jacket covered in dust and old patches. His boots were heavy and worn. His hair was gray at the sides, and he needed a shave. He carried a small bag with tools, brushes, and a battered datapad. No one paid much attention to him. The Concord had invited one human only to follow old rules about new members. No one thought he would matter. Elias did not seem to care. He looked around at the cracked ground and muttered something about interesting rock layers. Then he kept walking. The group reached the entrance to the temple. A huge arch of black stone rose above them. Carved faces stared down from the walls. Faces of beings no one remembered. The carvings showed tall figures with calm eyes. They held orbs like the one inside. Each figure looked kind, but also very strong. The delegates stopped and bowed their heads. Some whispered prayers. Some touched the stone with respect. Elias just looked up, scratched his chin, and said, "This place has good drainage for rain." "Never comes." No one answered him. They walked down a long hallway. Lights appeared along the walls as they moved forward, soft white glows that came from nowhere. The air grew cooler, the sound of their steps echoed back at them. After many minutes they reached the final chamber. The room was round and very wide. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into shadow. In the center stood a single stone pillar. On top of the pillar rested the relic. It looked exactly like the story said, a smooth black orb. No marks, no lights, no sound. It simply waited. The delegates formed a half circle around it. Torvak stepped forward first. He raised his blade high and spoke in a deep voice. I am Torvak, son of the Red Flame. I have won battles across 50 suns. I claim this test in the name of strength. The orb did not answer. Torvak frowned. He stepped closer and pressed his palm against the black surface. Nothing happened. He pulled back and his scales darkened with anger. Next came Scylla, eyes, and sent her mind forward like a wave of light. She offered every memory, every idea, every dream of her people. The orb stayed quiet. Scylla opened her eyes again and looked surprised. Zethar went third. He spread his arms wide and spoke of unity, of trade, of a future without war. He promised the relic would be shared with all worthy beings. The orb ignored him, like the others. One by one, the rest tried. Each one gave what they thought was best. Songs, dances, blood drops, psychic links, vows of power. Nothing worked. The chamber stayed silent. The delegates began to whisper among themselves. Frustration grew. They had come so far. They had prepared for so long. Now the relic refused them all. Elias stood at the edge of the circle. He watched everything with calm eyes. He did not look angry or excited. He looked bored. After the last delegate failed, he took one step forward. The others turned to stare at him. Torvak growled low in his throat. What does the human want? Scylla tilted her head. Rules say all may try. Zethar waved a hand. Let him make a fool of himself. It changes nothing. Elias walked to the pillar. He stopped a few steps away and looked at the orb for a long moment. Then he spoke in a normal voice. That thing has tiny cracks all over, probably from some big hit a long time ago. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small metal tool. He tapped the side of the orb twice with it. The sound was clear and sharp in the quiet room. The delegates gasped. Some stepped back, others froze. Elias did not notice their fear. He tilted his head and said, "You know, this looks like it could use a good cleaning. Maybe some kind of ancient dust seal broke loose." He turned halfway back to the group and added, "You people sure this thing still works? It seems kind of sleepy." For a moment, nothing happened. The delegates stared at him. Some looked angry, some looked confused. Then the orb began to change. A faint line of gold light appeared on its surface. The line grew brighter, spread across the black surface like cracks of fire. The light became stronger. The chamber filled with warm golden glow. The air started to hum, a deep low sound that made the stone floor shake. Every delegate dropped to their knees or raised their arms to shield their eyes. The light was too bright. The sound was too loud. Elias just stood there. He lifted one hand to block the glare and muttered, "Who turned on the big lamp?" The relic had woken up. The golden light from the relic grew brighter until it filled every corner of the chamber. The deep hum turned into a steady vibration that traveled through the stone floor and up into the legs of everyone standing there. The delegates from the Galactic Concord stayed on their knees or crouched low with arms over their faces. Their eyes hurt from the sudden brightness. Their minds raced with shock and questions. How could this happen? The orb had never reacted before. Not to the mightiest warriors, not to the wisest thinkers, not to the richest rulers. Now it shone like a new sun, because a scruffy human had tapped it twice with a small tool. Torvak, the Krath warrior, was the first to recover enough to speak. His voice came out rough and angry. "What sorcery is this? He pushed himself up to one knee. His red scales caught the gold light and looked like burning coals. The human did nothing special. He struck it like a child testing fruit. He has no right. Scylla, the Valeran thinker, kept her gaze fixed on the orb, her mind churning with calculations, her lips moving soundlessly as she tried to unravel the mystery. Many eyes half closed. She tried to reach out with her mind to understand the change. The light blocked her thoughts like thick fog. She whispered, "This is no trick. The archive stirs. I feel old power waking. It chooses." Zethar, the Zorath ruler, stood slowly. He smoothed his golden robes and forced a calm smile on his face. Perhaps the texts were wrong. Perhaps worthiness comes in strange forms. He looked at Elias with narrow eyes. But why him? A newcomer, a primitive, a being from a world of mud and storms. Elias Kane still stood near the pillar. He lowered the hand he had used to block the glare. He blinked a few times to clear his vision. Then he looked around at the kneeling aliens and the glowing orb. He scratched the back of his neck and spoke in his usual calm tone. "Well, that was unexpected. Guess the old girl still has some juice left." He turned fully toward the group and added, "You all okay over there? Looks like a bad flash from a camera." The delegates stared at him. Some mouths hung open, some fists clenched. Torvak growled again and gripped his humming blade tighter. He took one step forward. "Human, you dare mock this moment. You dare act as if this power means nothing." Elias raised both hands, palms out. "Whoa, easy there, big guy. I am not mocking anything. I just tapped it to see if it was solid. That is what you do with old artifacts. You check for cracks. You see if it rings true. I did not expect fireworks. I thought maybe it would hum or something small." He pointed at the orb with one finger. "See, those lines of light? They follow the fracture patterns exactly. Probably stress from whatever hit it way back when." Scylla stood up now. Her blue skin looked almost silver in the glow. She spoke slowly. "The relic does not wake for curiosity. It wakes for alignment. The progenitors built it to find those who match their way of being. Not the proud, not the loud, not the ones who seek glory. It seeks those who act without waiting for permission, those who see a problem and fix it, who do not bow to mystery." Zethar laughed, but the sound came out sharp and false. Alignment. A Death Worlder aligns with gods. He turned to the others. "See, this is proof. The test is broken. The orb mistakes a fool for a master. We must shut it down before worse happens." Elias heard the words, but he did not seem to care much. He walked a slow circle around the pillar, looking at the orb from different angles. He pulled out his battered datapad and tapped the screen a few times. He muttered to himself, "Thermal scars match kinetic impact. Residue suggests high velocity. Maybe a railgun shot or something bigger. Interesting." He looked up at the delegates again. "You know, if this thing is part of a bigger system, there might be more pieces scattered around. We could look for matching materials. That would tell us a lot." Torvak roared loud enough to shake dust from the ceiling. "Enough of your chatter. Human, you have no place here. This is sacred. You profane it with your tools and your words." Raised his blade high. The energy field along the edge crackled bright red. "I will end this insult." Before Torvak could move forward, the light from the orb pulsed once. A wave of warm air pushed out from the pillar. It knocked Torvak back 2 steps. His blade dimmed for a second, then came back. The other delegates felt the push too. It was gentle but firm, like a hand saying, "Stop." A voice came from the relic. Not loud, not angry, just clear and very old. It spoke in perfect common, the language all Concord members used. "Welcome, Inheritor. The test is complete. Access begins now. The archive opens to you." The delegates froze. Every one of them looked at Elias. Elias looked back at them, then at the orb. He frowned a little. Inheritor? Me? You sure about that? I just got here. I didn't even fill out any forms. The voice answered without pause. The measure is not in ceremony. A measure is in action. You approached without fear. You acted without doubt. You saw need and met it. Valued this above all else. Worthiness is proven. Silas stepped closer. Her voice shook a little. The archive. The full archive. Legends say it holds blueprints for stars, forges for matter, engines that fold space, cures for every end. How can this be? Zethar waved his arms. The test must be redone. This cannot stand. A human, a latecomer, a nobody. The Concord will not accept this. Elias put his datapad back in his bag. He looked at Zethar and said, "Listen, friend. I do not know what any of you expected. I came here to look at old stuff, maybe take some scans, maybe write a paper if it was good. I did not come to inherit anything. If this thing wants to give me homework, that's fine. But I have a dig site waiting on Theta 9. The rains come soon. I need to get back before the mud swallows everything." Torvak snarled again. "You speak of mud when gods speak to you. You shame us all." Elias shrugged. "Shame is a strong word. I just want to finish my work. That's all." He turned back to the orb. "Hey, Big Shiny. If you are handing out prizes, can you maybe send the manual, or a quick guide? I do not have time to read a whole library right now." The orb pulsed again. Soft this time. A small beam of light shot out and touched Elias' datapad. The device beeped once. The screen lit up with new symbols and scrolling text. Data transfer complete. Basic interface loaded. Use as needed. The voice added, "Do not break it." Elias looked at the screen. He whistled low. "Nice. That saves me some trouble, thanks." He pocketed the datapad again. Then he looked at the stunned delegates. "Well, this was fun. You folks take care. I think I will head back to the ship. Got coffee waiting and a report to write." He started walking toward the hallway. The light from the orb followed him a little, like it did not want him to leave yet. The delegates watched in silence. Some looked angry. Some looked lost. Some looked afraid. Torvak whispered to Sila, "This changes everything. The human holds the archive. Holds the future." Sila nodded slowly. "Yes. And he does not even know what he holds." Elias kept walking. He did not look back. He hummed a small tune as he went. His boots echoed on the stone floor. The chamber stayed bright behind him. The relic glowed steady now. A new era had begun, and the one chosen to lead it thought only about getting back to his coffee maker before the battery died. The golden light in the chamber did not fade. It stayed bright and steady, like a lamp that refused to turn off. The deep hum settled into a soft background note that made the air feel alive. The relic hung above the pillar, glowing with lines of fire that moved slow across its black surface like rivers of molten metal. The delegates from the Galactic Concord stood frozen in place. Their faces showed every feeling: shock, anger, fear, wonder. They had trained for this day. They had dreamed of this moment. Now the moment belonged to someone else. Elias Kane walked a few steps toward the hallway, then stopped. He turned back because the light followed him. It wrapped around his shoulders like a warm coat. He looked at the orb again and said, "Okay, I get it. You are excited. But I really need to go. My ship has a low battery warning on the coffee heater. If I wait too long, I will face a real crisis." He smiled a little like he told a joke. No one laughed. Torvak the Krath warrior stepped forward. Blade still hummed in his hand, but the energy field looked weaker now. He pointed at Elias. "You will not leave with this power, human. The Concord claims it by right of seniority, by strength, by history. You are nothing, a speck, a late guest who stumbled into the hall." Elias looked at the big warrior. He did not flinch. He just nodded once. "Fair point. You have been around longer. Your people built empires while mine still hunted with sticks. But the shiny ball picked me. Not you, Not any of you. I did not ask for it. I did not fight for it. It just happened. Maybe complain to it instead of me. Scylla the Valeran thinker moved closer, her many eyes focused on Elias like she tried to read his soul. She spoke in a quiet voice. The relic spoke of alignment. What does that mean to you, human? What did you do that we missed? Elias rubbed his chin. He thought for a second. I walked up, I looked at the cracks, I tapped it to see if it would ring or fall apart. That is standard procedure for fieldwork. Do not bow to every old pot. You check if it holds together. If it does not, you glue it or you leave it. I figured the same rule applies here. No big mystery. Zethar the Zorath ruler laughed again. This time the sound came out bitter. You called godlike judgment a glue job. You reduced the progenitors to handymen. That is blasphemy. Elias shrugged. Maybe, but glue works. I have fixed worse things with less. The orb pulsed once, like it agreed. The light grew a touch brighter for a moment, then settled back. The voice from the relic spoke again, calm and clear. The test measured not pride, not knowledge, not power. It measured instinct without chains. The inheritor must act when needed, without pause, without show, without need for witnesses. The progenitors walked among chaos. They built from ruin. They fixed what broke. They did not wait for applause. The one chosen reflects this way. Torvok snarled. That describes no one here. We came with purpose. We offered our best. Best carried weight. Your best sought reward. The weight blinded you. The reward chained you. The human carried nothing. He sought nothing. He simply acted. That is the mirror the progenitors sought. Scylla lowered her head slowly. I understand now. We performed. We postured. We measured ourselves against the test. The human ignored the stage. He saw only the broken thing. He reached to mend it without thought of gain. Zethar waved his hands. No. No. This cannot be final. The Concord will review this. The Council will demand proof. We have laws. We have protocols. Elias listened to them argue. He looked bored again. He pulled out his datapad. The screen still glowed with new symbols. He scrolled through them for a minute. Then he looked up. Hey, archive thing, can you show me something useful? Like how to fix a busted hyperdrive coil? Or maybe just tell me if my ship needs a new filter. I hate when the air tastes like old socks. The orb sent another small beam. The datapad beeped. Diagrams of engines, maps of hidden repair nodes, lists of materials that lasted forever. Elias whistled again. That is handy. Thanks. He started walking toward the exit again. Torvok moved to block him. You don't leave until we decide what happens next. Elias stopped. He looked up at the tall warrior. Listen, I like you. You are big and scary and probably good in a fight. But right now, you stand between me and caffeine. That is a dangerous place to be. I do not want trouble. I just want to go home. The relic pulsed hard this time. The light flashed white for a second. A wave of force pushed out, gentle, but strong enough to slide Torvok back 5 steps. His boots scraped on the stone. He looked surprised. The voice spoke once more. The inheritor decides his path. None may hinder. None may bind. The archive serves him now. Torvok stared at his hands, then at Elias. His anger turned to something else. Maybe respect, maybe fear. He lowered his blade. The energy field winked out. Spoke to the group. We must accept this. The relic has chosen. The progenitors trusted it for eons. We cannot overrule it now. Zethar paced back and forth. His golden robes swished loud in the quiet. This will shatter alliances. Worlds will question the Concord. A primitive holds the keys to creation. What do we tell the empires? Elias answered from the hallway entrance. Tell them the truth. An old thing woke up. It picked the guy who did not care too much about being picked. Then tell them I am going to finish my coffee and get back to work. The rest is your problem. He kept walking. The light dimmed a little as he moved away, but a thin golden thread stayed connected to him like a tether. The delegates watched him go. None followed. None spoke for a long minute. Finally, Scylla broke the silence. He passes the greatest test in history and notices nothing. He treats cosmic power like a minor tool. That is the truest mark of his kind. Torvok grunted. Maybe the Deathworlders are more dangerous than we thought. Not because they seek power, because they use it without thinking twice. Zethar stopped pacing. He looked at the glowing relic, then at the empty hallway where Elias had disappeared. He whispered, "We opened the door to something we do not understand." And it walked out, whistling. Farther down the hall, Elias reached the ramp to the surface. He paused for a second. He looked back toward the chamber. The golden thread still touched his shoulder. He patted it, like he patted a friendly dog. "Good boy, stay put. I'll call if I need you." He stepped out into the dry air of HFY War. The weak sun hit his face. He took a deep breath, then headed toward his small scout ship. The Harmony loomed above like a silver mountain, but Elias did not look up. He climbed the ramp to his own craft. He entered the cockpit. He sat in the worn chair. He tapped the console to start the engines. Before he lifted off, he checked his datapad again. The new files blinked at him. Granted. Use wisely. Do not break it. Elias laughed out loud. Break it? I break everything eventually. But I usually fix it after. The ship rose slow into the sky. The golden thread stretched but did not snap. It followed him like a quiet promise. Elias set course for Theta 9. He leaned back in his seat. He sipped cold coffee from a metal mug. He muttered to himself, "Well, that was weird. Time to dig up some pots before the rain comes." Behind him, on the dead world, the chamber stayed bright. The delegates talked in low voices. They planned. They worried. They wondered what came next. Above them all, the relic waited, patient, calm, ready for whatever the human asked next, even if he never asked at all. The scout ship lifted off from the dusty surface of HFY War with a low rumble. Elias sat in the pilot chair and watched the dead world shrink below him. The golden thread of light from the relic still touched his shoulder. It looked thin now, like a strand of warm sunlight. He reached up and brushed it with his fingers. It felt real, but not solid. He shrugged and turned his attention to the controls. "Coffee first," he said, out loud. "Priorities." Back in the underground chamber, the delegates from the Galactic Concord formed a tight circle around the pillar. The relic glowed steady, but softer now. The golden lines on its surface moved slow, like calm rivers. The voice from the ancient orb had gone quiet after Elias left. The silence felt heavy. The air still hummed a little from the earlier power. Torvok broke the quiet first. He sheathed his blade with a sharp click. His red scales looked dull in the fading light. He spoke low, but clear. "The human walks away with everything. We stand here like fools. What do we do now?" Scylla answered first. She kept her many eyes on the orb. "We do what we always do. We study. We learn. We adapt. The relic chose based on its own rules, not ours. The progenitors left that rule behind. The inheritor must match their way without knowing it. Elias matched it perfectly." Zethar paced again. His golden robes brushed the stone floor. He stopped and pointed at the pillar. He did not match anything. He insulted the test. He treated it like junk. He tapped it like a cheap toy. "That is not worthiness. That is ignorance." The voice from the relic spoke again, calm and patient. Ignorance did not open the archive. Action did. The one who came last did not seek to prove himself. He sought only to understand the object in front of him. He saw damage. He tested integrity. He moved to correct it. All without pride. We cared too much. We wanted the prize. We wanted the glory. The human wanted nothing and got everything. Yes, Scylla said. We performed for each other. We measured our worth against legends. We stood tall to be seen. The human stood small because he did not care who watched. That freedom let him pass where we could not. A new delegate spoke up, a tall insect being from the cheer hive named Crix. His voice clicked like dry leaves. We have records of the progenitors. They were builders. They were fixers. They faced voids and storms and broken worlds. They did not wait for songs or crowns. They acted. They repaired. They moved on. The human follows that path. He digs old sites. He fixes broken tools. He drinks bad coffee and keeps going. He doesn't stop to bow. Zethar shook his head. This is madness. A species barely off their home rock now holds the archive, the keys to creation, the maps to lost stars. We cannot let this stand. We must find a way to share it, to control it. Warning. The archive belongs to the inheritor. None may take, none may demand. It serves only the one chosen. Any attempt to seize it will close the door forever. The delegates looked at each other. No one moved. No one spoke for a long minute. The weight of those words settled on them like cold stone. Scylla turned to the group. We have two choices. We fight the choice and lose everything, or we accept it and learn from it. The human does not even know what he holds. He thinks it is a tool like his datapad. He will use it when he needs it and forget it the rest of the time. That is the greatest safety we could hope for. Torvak grunted. Safety? A death worlder with god power is not safe. It is terrifying. He fixes things without thinking. He survives things that kill others. He does not fear the unknown. He pokes it to see what happens. That kind of mind with that kind of archive could change the galaxy in ways we cannot predict. Crix clicked again. Or he could ignore it. His mud holes and old pots. He could leave the power sleeping. That would be the safest path of all. Zethar laughed bitter. The safest path is the one we cannot control. We must speak to our councils. We must prepare for what comes next. The Concord will meet. The elders will decide how to approach the human, how to guide him, how to limit the risk. Scylla nodded. But we must be careful. He does not want guidance. He wants quiet. He wants his work. He wants his coffee. If we push too hard, he may push back, and now he has the means to push very hard. The delegates started to move toward the hallway. Some walked slow. Some looked back at the relic, one last time. The light followed none of them. It stayed centered on the pillar, patient, waiting. High above in his scout ship, Elias set the autopilot for Theta 9. The trip would take 3 standard days. He leaned back in his chair. He pulled out the datapad. The screen showed folders he had never seen before. Archive Core Systems Repair. Protocols, Lost Technologies, Emergency Protocols. He opened one at random. A diagram appeared. A blueprint for a device that could rebuild a cracked planet core. He stared at it for a minute. Then he closed the file. Useful if I ever break a world, I guess. He opened another folder. Medical Index. It listed cures for diseases no one had named yet. One entry caught his eye. Radiation decay reversal. Full cellular rebuild in under an hour. He thought about the old miners on Rigel 4 who still coughed from bad shields. He bookmarked it. Maybe send that to the medbay when I get back. He scrolled more. Weapon schematics, folded space drives, terraforming arrays, star forges. He shook his head. Too much. Too big. I just wanted some pottery shards and maybe a nice inscription. He set the datapad down. He stood up and stretched. His back popped. He walked to the small galley. He started the coffee maker. It gurgled and hissed. He waited. The golden thread still hung near his shoulder. It pulsed once, soft like a heartbeat. He looked at it. You still here? Good. Keep an eye on things. I'm going to nap. He poured the coffee, black and strong. He sat back down. He sipped slow. The ship hummed around him. Stars slid past the view screen. He felt calm. Strange things had happened, but strange things happened all the time in his line of work. He dug up bones that talked. He found machines that still ran after 1,000,000 years. This was just another odd day. He thought about the aliens back in the chamber. They looked so serious, so worried. He almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Then he remembered Torvak waving that big blade. He chuckled. Big guy needs to relax. The golden thread pulsed again. This time it sent a small message to the datapad. A single line appeared. Relax mode active. No urgent alerts. Sleep well, inheritor. Elias read it. He laughed out loud. You get me, archive. You really get me. He finished his coffee. He set the mug in the sink. He walked to the bunk. He lay down. He closed his eyes. The ship flew on toward Theta 9. The Rains waited there. The Mosaic waited there. His work waited there. The galaxy had changed forever, and the man who changed it slept like a baby, with no idea what he had done. Far behind on HFY War, the delegates boarded the Harmony. They sat in silence as the big ship rose. They looked out at the shrinking planet. Each one thought the same thought. The future belonged to someone who did not want it. Someone who would use it only when forced. Someone who would forget it the moment the coffee finished brewing. That thought scared them more than any war ever had. Elias woke up when the scout ship beeped softly. The autopilot had dropped out of jump space. Theta 9 filled the view screen. A small green world with thick clouds and wide rivers. The monsoon season had already started. Rain streaked the forward glass in long lines. Elias stretched in his bunk. He rubbed his eyes. He looked at the golden thread still floating near his shoulder. It had not gone away. It pulsed once, like a quiet hello. Morning, he said. You sleep well, too? He got up. He made fresh coffee. This time it tasted better. The ship systems had pulled some upgrade from the archive files overnight. The heater worked perfect now. No more burnt taste. He sipped slow. He watched the planet grow closer. He felt normal. Everything looked the same as always. A dig site. A storm coming. Some old mosaic half buried in mud. That was his world. Not glowing orbs. Not ancient voices. Not galaxy-changing power. The ship landed gentle on a flat pad near the ruins. The rain drummed hard on the hull. Pulled on his rain jacket. He grabbed his tool bag. He checked the datapad. The new folders still sat there untouched mostly. He had skimmed a few more during the trip. Radiation fixes, engine tweaks, a quick way to make clean water from salt. He bookmarked them for later. Right now, the mosaic mattered more. He stepped out into the downpour. The air smelled wet and green. He trudged toward the site. The dig pit had filled with water. Mud slid down the walls. The mosaic lay half exposed, a pattern of blue and gold tiles that told some forgotten story. Elias knelt in the muck. He brushed dirt away with his hands. He spoke to no one in particular. You waited 800 years. You can wait one more day while I pump this water out. He set up the small pump. It whirred to life. It pulled dirty water away slow but steady. He worked for hours. The rain never stopped. His jacket leaked at the shoulders. His boots squelched with every step. He did not complain. This was normal. This was good. Harmony, the delegates had gathered in the main council room. The big ship still orbited HFY War. They had sent urgent messages to every homeworld. The Concord Council would meet in virtual session soon. Every leader wanted to know what happened. Torvak stood at one end of the table, his arms crossed, his face hard. Scylla sat quiet. Her crystal thoughtstone glowed faint as she reviewed old texts. Zethar walked back and forth. He talked fast. We must contact the human. We must explain the weight of this. We must make him understand. Crix the Cheer clicked his mandibles. He will not understand. He does not want to understand. He digs in mud. He fixes small things. He thinks the archive is a nice bonus, like a better coffee maker. We push him, and he may push away forever. Scylla looked up. The relic said the archive serves only the inheritor. If we demand too much, it may lock again. The progenitors built failsafes. They knew pride could ruin gifts. Torvok grunted. Then what? We wait, we watch, we hope. The Death Worlder stays busy with pots and rain. Yes, Scylla said. That may be the best we can do. He does not seek war. He does not seek rule. He seeks quiet work. If we leave him alone, the power stays quiet too. Zethar stopped walking. He looked out the viewport at the stars. He whispered, and if he ever decides to use it all, what then? No one answered. The room stayed silent except for the soft hum of the ship. On Theta 9, Elias had cleared most of the water. The mosaic shone brighter now. The tiles showed figures in robes. They held tools. They built towers. They faced storms. They looked calm. Elias ran his fingers over the edges. He smiled. Good work, whoever you were. You knew how to last. He pulled out his brushes. He started cleaning one small section at a time. He worked careful. He took pictures. He made notes on his datapad. The golden thread hovered close. It watched without sound. After a while it sent a tiny beam to the datapad. A new file appeared. Simple methods to seal old stone against rain and time. Elias read it quick. He nodded. Nice timing. He applied the method. A clear mist sprayed from a small nozzle on his tool. It soaked into the tiles. The colors deepened. They looked fresh again. Elias sat back on his heels. He wiped sweat and rain from his face. He looked at the thread. Thanks, buddy. You are handy. He patted the air where it floated. The thread pulsed warm like it liked the praise. Night fell. The rain eased to a soft patter. Elias set up a small tent over the pit. He crawled inside. He ate a ration bar. He drank water. He lay on his sleeping mat. He stared at the tent roof. He thought about the last few days, the big chamber, the angry aliens, the bright light, the voice. He chuckled. Still sounds like a bad dream, but the datapad works better now. The coffee tastes good. That is enough proof for me. He closed his eyes. He slept deep. No dreams of power. No dreams of stars. Just the sound of rain on fabric. Finished the mosaic. He cataloged every tile. He packed samples. He sent reports to the Terran Union archive. The Union people wrote back excited. They called it a major find. Elias wrote back simple. Thanks. Just another day at work. He did not mention the relic. He did not mention the archive. He figured it would only confuse them. One evening he sat by a small fire. The rain had stopped. The sky showed stars. Elias pulled out the datapad. He opened a random file this time, a star chart of forgotten sectors, places the progenitors had visited. He zoomed in. One dot blinked. A world with perfect soil. No storms, no wars, just peace. He stared at it for a long time. Maybe someday, he said. Maybe when I retire. He closed the file. He stood up. He kicked dirt over the fire. He walked back to his ship. The golden thread followed close. It never left him. It never asked for anything. It just stayed. Inside the cockpit, Elias started the engines. He set course for the nearest Union station. He needed rest. He needed to drop off the samples. He lifted off. Theta 9 fell away below. The mosaic stayed safe under its new seal. The rain would come again, but the tiles would hold. As the ship jumped to hyperspace, Elias leaned back. He sipped coffee. He looked at the golden thread. You know what? If this is what winning looks like, I will take it. Quiet work, good coffee, no one yelling at me. Sounds perfect. The thread pulsed once, soft and content. Far across the galaxy, the Concord Council met. They argued, they planned, they worried. They sent probes to watch Elias from a distance. They saw him dig. They saw him fix. They saw him laugh at small things. They saw him ignore the greatest gift in history. They saw him live like nothing had changed. One elder from the oldest race spoke last. Let him be. He passed the test without noticing. That is the truest worth. The progenitors would smile, if they still could. The council fell silent. They watched the small scout ship move from world to world. They watched the human who held everything and wanted nothing. They watched and they learned. The galaxy had a new center. Not a throne, not a crown. Just a tired man in a worn jacket who fixed what he found and moved on. And somewhere in the quiet spaces between stars, the relic waited. Patient, calm, ready for the next time Elias needed a hand. Even if he never asked, even if he never noticed the help, even if he just kept digging in the mud with a smile on his face. The end had come, not with fire, not with thunder, not with grand speeches, just with a human who passed the greatest test in history and walked away whistling because the coffee was hot and the work waited.